Hiker Trash is headed to New York City in week 19 on the Appalachian Trail.
Taking the train to New York.
There are a few different towns in New York where you can catch the train to New York City, and we just decided that Peekskill was the town that we wanted to catch the train from. We had been waffling about whether or not we were going to go into New York City for days, but in the end, Barbie had never been to New York City, and I was like, let's go. It's a part of the trail experience. So here we are in week 19 in New York City. We were on one of the first trains into the city, and our first stop was Essa Bagel, which my mom's friend from New York had recommended, and it was definitely a worthwhile first stop and a bagel that I will dream about. I had only ever been to New York City once before, so it was also really cool for me to be back here with Barbie, and we were headed to Central Park, which I had never been to on my other trip to New York City, so this was a first for both of us, and we were loving exploring this big natural green area in the heart of a city. Although we went into it knowing that we weren't going to be able to cover everything in Central Park, we made a list of our favorite things that we wanted to potentially see, and we followed that. And first up was the iconic Alice in Wonderland statue, because it's a favorite story of mine, and we had to go see it. After being in the woods for so long, it is fascinating to me that in this entire city, this is like the main green, naturey, earthy spot. And this definitely contributes to my stereotype of New York. However, I will say that the trail changed my views on New York State, though the city is still very much not very green, but I was loving Central Park and all of its trails and all the whimsy and wonder that you could find around every corner. Even though our New York adventure was last minute, we planned to stay for the entire day, stay the night so that we could enjoy the nightlife of Times Square, and then get up early the next morning to get back out on the trail. Because as much as we love our zeros and our side quest, we also know that it can be hard to get back on the trail the more time you spend off of it sometimes. The next thing we had to find in Central Park was the Central Park Castle. I did not even know this was a thing until I started Googling cool things in Central Park. And then once I saw it was a thing, we had to map it and find out where it was so we could see how cool it was in person. And although we probably could have spent all day wandering around Central Park, we decided it was time to go explore some other wonderful hidden gems of New York, and we found Little Island, which looked like a futuristic floating island in the middle of the city. We found some really cool little things around there, like these rolling seats that Barbie is spinning around. And then it was time for Treat's first treat of the day, and we went to try Magnolia Bakery, which I had heard great things about their banana pudding, and honestly, we thought that everything was just okay. We did think about catching the ferry to Ellis Island and to see the Statue of Liberty, but then when we saw how big and crazy the crowds were, our hikerness that had been in the woods alone for so many months decided that we couldn't deal with the crowds that were aboard the boat. So instead, we opted for another treat spot and went to an adorable little cafe where we got a chai and a cookie. Because when your trail name is Treats, how can you deny yourself a delicious looking cookie in an adorable little cafe? This little place was called Maman, and it was adorable. Next on our adventure list was The Strand, which is the iconic bookstore that I first learned about when watching Dash and Lily on Netflix, and ever since then I've been dreaming of exploring this magical bookstore. And because we had been walking around to all of these places, we were once again hungry, so we went to find a burrito place, and then we met up with our fellow hiker trash and had one of my favorite treats of the trail, which was from Surreal Creamery. This matcha and taro swirl with taro boba tea on the bottom was, oh my gosh, chef's kiss, so good. By this point, I'm sure you're probably wondering, is she just eating her way through New York? And yes, I am. I love to eat good food, and the lovely thing about New York is that they have so many different cultures and good food options. So I was enjoying everything I could. But after enjoying our boba, we went for a walk on the Brooklyn Bridge where we enjoyed the people watching. I found some Barbie crock gibbets from some little bridge vendors, and then we just enjoyed the sunset from the Brooklyn Bridge. And I have to admit, I thoroughly enjoyed my day in New York. My first visit when I was a kid, I left not loving this city and not sure when I would ever visit again. But as an adult, I have learned to appreciate New York City for what it is and all the things that it does offer. And safe to say that this mindset going in made me enjoy my trip so much more. We then went back to the hotel and took a nap before enjoying the nightlife of Times Square, and then we stopped for our final treat of the day at Junior's Cheesecake. This is what some of my mom's friends had told me was some of the best cheesecake in the city, and this was close to where our hotel was.
One hand, New York City, one hand.
We watched some of the street shows before we headed to bed. The next morning, we were up bright and early, walking with all the people who were headed to work with our packs on, and we were headed back to the trail. But we couldn't head back to trail without stopping first for just one last city treat before we had to go back to dehydrated food. And honestly, Grand Central is just so impressive with all the different offerings and all the different vendors that it's too tempting to not enjoy something before you go back to eating like trash pandas. With a beautiful display case of pastries, we picked Zaro's, got our treat, and then grabbed a bagel to enjoy while we waited for our train. And then we were on our way back to the lovely little town of Peekskill so we could get back on the trail. Can you tell we like to eat? Once we got back into Peekskill, the little cafe at the train station was open, so we dangerously once again stopped for a snack before getting on the trail. And then back on the trail, I didn't really record right when we got back on the trail, but for lunch there was this gas station that was recommended on Far Out, and we did stop there for sandwiches. The highlight of being back on trail was this fun little slug friend that I found. He actually wasn't little, he was actually ginormous, but his texture was really cool, and I loved just sitting and watching him.
There's the blaze. This is bullshit.
Good comment.
Bullshit.
Remember all that rain that we got at Delaware Water Gap? Well, we were still seeing that rain even going through New York, and it was very evident that it had flooded different pieces of the trail. This little section on a dirt rock ledge was really cool though. We can make a call in the woods on the telephone of wind. And there's Barbie. Hello from the buggy trail of New York. Yesterday morning we left Grand Central Station and New York City and headed back to Peekskill, where we got a ride to get back on the trail, and we got back on at the bridge right off from Bear Mountain, and we headed back up the trail. Since then, trail has been good, but I've never been swarmed by so many bugs. As you can see, the funeral veil is on so that the mosquitoes don't eat me alive, because anytime you take it off, they just swarm. My legs are covered in bug spray. And yeah, the mosquitoes are vicious. I think it's because of all the rain, so everything's wet. There have been so many big puddles on the trail that are not supposed to be there. Like, we've had some like river crossings and creek crossings, but some of the little like puddles on the trail are definitely mosquito breeding grounds. So anyways, the bugs have been so fun. And the little gnats that like to buzz like right next to your ear, they're beautiful. They're so fun. But, you know, just another challenge being out here. Ooh, I'm running into trees. But yeah, we had an awesome time in the city. It was definitely very different to being on trail. It's somewhat overwhelming when you have this foot of dirt to yourself every day, and then you get to the city and you're surrounded by people and like there's nowhere to walk. But we had a really good time. It was fun to take a break. And yeah, it was the only day that we haven't been rained on in New York, because every other day on trail we've been rained on. So that was fun too. But yeah, so now we're back on trail and slowly making our way towards Connecticut. And I don't think it'll be less buggy, but Connecticut, I'm hoping you're less buggy. But trail's been good. We've had some beautiful views here in New York. And yeah, so onwards and upwards, and there's a big tree in my way. And hopefully maybe less bugs later, maybe. I really loved this special painting on a rock on the AT and this beautiful view. So we're gonna take a moment of silence. New York was probably one of my favorite states for a lot of reasons, but mostly because of the food blazing. Corrado's was one of our favorite stops in New York because it not only had delicious pizza and delicious garlic rolls and even delicious gelato, but the people who owned it were so nice to hikers, and that was still so refreshing. Y'all, this was probably one of the friendliest places we've stopped on trail. Corrado's and the Stormville Market. They had camping out back, and they were friendly to hikers, and yeah, this was just the best. The best. We had pizza last night from Corrado's, and then we had breakfast in the deli this morning. Perfect spot to stop if you're in Stormville, New York. But yeah, we loved these two little spots. They were an awesome little break from the bugs. But seriously, Corrado's was awesome with pizza at night and bagels in the morning, and they let us use the bathrooms. So that's always a really nice thing to end and start your day with. But after our quick stop, we were very much headed back to the trail and the bugs. I'm used to bugs and I'm used to mosquitoes, but for some reason the bugs on the trail just seemed so much worse than any other bug experience I've ever had. And I don't know if it was because the trail was so wet or because I was outside so much more. But yeah, the bugs were not fun. But it was fun to take little stops like this for snacks and enjoy the beautiful water views and pretend like bugs weren't eating me alive. Connecticut was getting closer and closer, and although I was excited to cross another state line, I was also really enjoying New York and the different landscapes that it provided, and I was still enjoying how pleasantly surprised I was by the state. This shelter has a library. We just stopped here to use the privy, but the library is cool. Although I appreciated the boardwalks for keeping me out of the swampy water, I didn't really like the green tunnel that was all around touching me as I walked down the trail, because all I could think about with all these green plants touching me were that there were ticks crawling off of them and onto me. The Appalachian Trail train line. This is so cool. We did not try to catch the train here. We did it in Peekskill, but this is still very cool. This is probably where we should have caught the train into New York, but it worked out really well that we caught it in Peekskill. Oh, y'all, boba on a food truck right near the trail. This is a glorious day. Okay, so we were not expecting this food stop, but we saw on Far Out that this was a good stop, and yes, it was very worthy of a stop. The DC Malaysian food truck was so delicious. They had Thai tea, and their food was, mouth-watering. After our unexpected but delicious food stop, we were back on the trail and enjoying the views. Another little free library at a shelter. This is so cool. I love that New York has these. We are like a mile from the New York-Connecticut border. We are stopping for the night. We did a 20, and then tomorrow we are going into Kent so that I can pick up some shoes. We are the only ones at the Wiley shelter tonight, which is actually kind of eerie considering we're in like one of the bubbles. There's a lot of different bubbles. Everybody says they're in the bubble. But yeah, it's empty. The whole camp is empty, which is kind of eerie. There are the weird giant cricket things are in there. We're tenting, but yeah, so it's kind of creepy that you're alone. But the little free library is very cool. Yeah, and tomorrow we get to go into Kent and I get new shoes after like 900 miles. Friends, don't wear your shoes for 900 miles. It's a dumb choice. But I wanted to get through the PA rocks. So, gotta live with your choices. But I don't recommend it. We made it to Connecticut! Another state down! New York, you were hard, but you were fun. Unlike Pennsylvania. Connecticut, we're excited to be in New England. And maybe some flatness? Or not rocks, maybe? We were another state down and we had finally made it to Connecticut, which was the gateway to New England. We were very quickly going through states at this point, and while that was super exciting, it also made the trail seem like it was going by just a little too fast. 10 Mile River. That is a big river. We got to the 10 Mile River in Connecticut, and once I saw it, I was very glad that this was not a river that we had to ford, and that the trail, in fact, just walked past it, and we got to enjoy the lovely views of this rushing river. Also, can we talk about how much I loved that this trail was smooth and somewhat flat, and not having stabby little rocks in my feet? Oh, it was such a glorious thing, and I missed this kind of flowy trail so much, so it was nice to have it back for even just a little while. We were headed into Kent, and I was so excited to be getting to that town because I had sent my new shoes to Kent, and I had been going for like 900 miles in the same shoes, which is a dumb idea, and the soles of those shoes were like peeling off. So I was very excited to get into Kent and get new shoes. Besides getting new shoes, I was also excited to go into town because we know that I had to stop and get a treat, and this chai and gluten-free almond cake from Wilson's was so good. I even went and got more. After 900 beautiful miles with these speed goats, the bottoms have ripped off. I mean, honestly, they're not in bad shape for how many miles, but my feet are starting to hurt. After 900 miles, it's time for them to go. I am going to go throw them in a dumpster over there. But thank you, speed goats. You've been good to me. And here's my new ones. New boot goofing. My feet feel so good. I went up a half a size, and I can immediately feel the difference in the toe box. My toes are no longer being squeezed. Best day ever. I was so excited to have new shoes, and to celebrate, we went and wandered around Kent a little bit more because I love small towns. So while we were there, chocolate milk over there. We had to just check out all the little things it had to offer and go do a resupply, of course. But my favorite thing about Kent, besides Wilson's and its delicious almond cake, was the House of Books bookstore. This bookstore was so adorable, and something about being on the trail has reinstated my love of books. So Barbie and I were walking back to trail from Kent on the side of the road, as hiker trash does, and this sweet lady, Gay, pulled over and was like, "Hey, do y'all want to ride?" We were almost back to the trail, but we were like, yes. Because, a few steps saved is always nice. Anyway, so we got in her car, and then she was like, "Do you want to come camp at my place?" And they do little Airbnbs and little cabins. And so let me turn my camera around and show you this cute little spot that we are staying at tonight. Look at how cute this is. So we were gonna set up the tent, but this little cabin, there's garlic hanging in there, but we were like, we don't care. This little tiny cabin. Let me climb in. With the bed. Got the screens. And you know, the garlic doesn't smell that bad. And if it makes me smell like garlic, then maybe it'll keep the bugs away from me. But look how cute this is. We're super excited to spend the night here. Because of the garlic hanging in this little place, I decided to dub this little tiny place we were staying the Garlic Shack. This is so cool.
It even has an outer door too you can close.
Was this one of the fanciest places I'd ever stayed? No. But was it one of the most unique, cool places I've ever stayed? Yes, absolutely. And the kindness of strangers was so amazing that someone would just let us stay in their little garlic shack. Needless to say, we were incredibly grateful to be here. A little slice of heaven. Of garlicky heaven. Besides the fact that this was just such a cool and unique experience, we were so excited to be staying in here because our tent zipper had broken and we were not sure how to fix it. We were in the height of the mosquitos in Connecticut, and yeah, we did not want to become one with the mosquitoes that night. The little baby tiny garlic house. The tent setting up to dry. The sweet little pond. There's fishies in there. Look at how cute this little spot is. Okay, I'm sorry, but also not sorry for all the garlic videos. I just think this spot is so cool and was so grateful to be here, so I couldn't stop videoing it. The next morning, we were going to have Gay drop us back off at Trail, but because our tent was having issues, we decided to have her drop us back in town so we could see if we could fix the zipper, but not without snacks first and delicious bagels from Wilson's.
Mine? How great mine look?
All right, Barbie wants me to show off his too. Oh, fudge monkey. He's even got them all decorated and laid out for me. Do we food blaze too much? Probably, but if you're ever in Kent, Connecticut, Wilson's is a must stop for food in my opinion. As we were leaving, we noticed this adorable farmer's market going on out back, so we stopped to check it out, even though we probably weren't going to be able to pack anything out with us. And then after walking all around town and going everywhere from the hardware store to the seamstress, we finally headed back on trail with the only solution to our tent being chip clips, which you'll see a little bit later. St. John's Ledges.
Yeah, motherfuckers.
So although we weren't able to find a permanent solution in town, we did order a new tent, and we are hoping that it will be waiting for us by the time we get to the next town. Our lunch spot for today. At our lunch spot of the day, we found these little footprints in the sand, and I'm pretty sure they were raccoon prints, which made me very happy. So yesterday, we went into Kent, Connecticut, to pick up my new shoes. I'm officially new boot goofing. After like 900 miles. Also, excuse this. This is just because the bugs aren't actually attacking me right now. But yeah, so we went into Kent, and we were planning on hiking back out a little bit backwards, southbound actually, because you can only camp in designated areas in Connecticut, which is fine. And the sweet lady offered us a ride, and then she offered to let us camp in her yard. So, Gay, thank you so much. We loved the little garlic shack. It was awesome. But while we were there, we put out the tent because it was all wet, and we put it out to dry, and the zipper has decided to fail. So this morning, instead of going back to the trailhead, we had Gay drive us back into town and drop us off. And we went to a tailor to see if they could actually fix it. They couldn't. But we really appreciate that they looked at it. So thank you, Kent Fabrics. But after that, we went to the hardware store and got some like temporary things to temporarily hold it together until we hike into Great Barrington. And in Great Barrington, we ordered a new tent. It's a big Agnes. Ow. Okay, sorry, there was a bug biting me. But in Great Barrington, we ordered a new tent, and hopefully that will be waiting for us. And yeah, then we will have a new tent. And so, okay, done getting attacked by a mosquito. But yeah, so we'll have a new tent waiting for us in Great Barrington. And we spent the morning in Kent again. We went to the little coffee shop again, Wilson's, and it was great. We had bagels, and they were delicious. And yeah, so we had spent the morning in Kent, and it was great. And now we're back on the trail, and we had some climbs this morning, but now we are on this beautiful 5-mile stretch of flat trail before we have more hills to climb. So it's been a good day. It's less humid. There is a breeze, thank God. The bugs are still out, obviously, because they're biting me and I'm about to put the bug net back down. But otherwise, the humidity is less. And you know what? I'll take what I can get. So it's a beautiful day to be on trail. The beautiful flatness of the trail. Next to the Housatonic. And the frickin' donkey, cow, pig thing that I'm walking with. But yeah, this flat trail is beautiful. Our feet are loving it. Our legs are loving it. Our feet were loving the flat, but of course the climbing came back again. But you know, climbing means beautiful views like this, so I guess we'll take them too. But I did really love that flat trail for a few miles.
So, since our tent zipper won't work, we tried to see if we could get it fixed. It's not anything that'll be fast. We went to Ace Hardware and we got some chip clips. And we have chip clipped the tent shut for a few days until we can get our new one in. So, yay. Especially because the mosquitoes are so rampant right now. But it'll be fine. It's part of through hiking, right?
We had survived the first night in our chip clip tent, and honestly, as long as one of us didn't get up to use the bathroom in the middle of the night, it worked pretty well. Good morning from the mosquito-y AT. It's going okay today. Not feeling so great. I woke up 2 days ago not feeling so good. Yesterday I felt better, and then today, not feeling so good. Again, just feeling worn. Maybe it's like a head cold. Really snotty. The mosquitoes in my ear don't help. But, you know, we're gonna hit 1,500 today. So it's always exciting. It makes it a good day when you're gonna hit a mile marker. And there's a fun little cafe in like 5 miles that we're gonna food blaze to, because Barbie and I are serial food blazers. And yeah, so it's gonna be a good day. It's gonna be probably a tiring day, and I probably won't feel good at the end of it. But it's gonna be a mostly good day, as long as the mosquitoes leave me somewhat alone. Do we think the bug net will ever start to look better on me?
Cadillac, blackjack, baby, meet me outside, we're gonna boogie.
I can't give you any rational reason why I was singing this song, except just for shits and giggles.
Our little food blaze for the day, the Mountainside Cafe.
So we had heard really good things about the food at Mountainside Cafe, but unfortunately when we got there, I think that their chef was out of town or something like that, and they could not really serve us food, but they still were able to make us matcha, and they had a treat. So all was good, but we were sad that we couldn't eat there.
1,500! Hell yeah! 1,500 miles. What the heck? 1,500! There's so many 1,500 markers. It's so exciting. And now we're gonna walk our 1,500 mile feet over this bridge. I'm sure this is not a pedestrian bridge. Oh, that's gorgeous. And I would walk 1,500 miles, and now we're gonna walk 700 more.
Do you get weirder after 1,500 miles, or do you just embrace your weirdness? I think we've just embraced it, so enjoy our little singing as we get to different mile markers. But after reaching the illustrious 1,500 mile mark, which feels so good to reach that marker, we got to view this lovely little waterfall. It still feels weird to think about that we've reached 1,500 miles and that we only have 700 more to go, which 700 is still a lot, but it still feels weird to think of how far we've come. And with reaching that marker, we know that I had to end the day with a treat that I had packed out, and it was a wonderful week 19 on the Appalachian Trail, so full of greatness.